Morning, guys.
Morning.
Thank you so much for coming. It is day 2, Automechanica. We are talking about you having Ben as a partner in your business. So, what is the first time you heard about Ben, and what drew you in to Ben as a concept and a charity to support and work with?
So I don't actually remember the first time I saw Ben, if I'm honest, but it would have been at an event, and I think probably it was with you. But yeah, I think when I first met you and started seeing the Ben van and the Ben items around, I'll be honest, I didn't really know what it is, and it's just over time it's gradually got more understanding in terms of what you do, and that's sort of how it all started with us. But I think it's your presence at events which has got me interested and trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, we discussed this before, didn't we? We can't remember the specifics of when we first heard about you. Probably 6-7 years ago.
I
can't remember the timing, but possibly an event, possibly at a show like this. And yeah, the more I've got to know you guys, the more it's just, it's brilliant.
And what did you think the automotive charity would be that is different to what we are? Like, what's changed in that kind of, as you've grown to understand more about Ben?
I think the way that we properly got to understand Ben was within our business. We've got over 100 staff, right? And if you just talk about percentages and odds, there's a proportion of those staff that are struggling. And I can remember, this is before we internally advertised it, before we really got in touch with you, like worked with you from the garage side perspective, referring staff. Now, you don't know what happens beyond the referral, but you see the person on the other side of the referral. And this has happened several times over. And I've literally just had a phone call with one of the directors who sort of makes this happen. And I asked him, how often are we referring? And it's frequently happening. So for me, really getting an understanding of what Ben is about is actually seeing the results of what comes from those referrals when you're helping those people. I don't know what that looks like, but all I see is the result, and that speaks volume, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? It's confidential. You will never know what that looks like, but the end result is someone looking better from your point of view.
Yeah, and I think similarly to Alex, it's really that understanding with Ben has got more as time's gone on, and I think the first thing for me that I remember actually thinking about our staff as part of the understanding was at the UK Garage and Body Shop show last year, when you did the nurse, you did the health check, MOTs for people, and I did it. And it was a real sort of eye-opener in terms of that. And I think that just got me thinking about, what that looks like for me as an employer, but also me as a person, and the impact that has on me will happen for somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's the, so that was the first sort of thing. And then when we invited Ben down to our business to do those health checks for our staff, it was that really sort of, I wasn't sure how it'd be received, because it is something that not everyone's comfortable with. Dealing with anything personal is not something that's in the open arena for everybody. Some people are very open, some people aren't. And I didn't know how it would be received. And out of our staff that we've got, we've got 10 which are on site plus me. I think only one person chose not to do it, and that was their personal choice. Yeah. Everybody else did it. And it was because I could explain what happened, I think, is why it became easy. Yeah. And it wasn't, there was no drama, no conflict, no sort of stigma with this happening. And likewise, I don't actually know what the outcome of those meetings were and those conversations were. Roll forward a bit, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, the fact that actually someone did open up to me, and it's really, I never thought about the impact that those individual meetings had on an individual. It's stupid that I didn't think about it. Now I know, but I just didn't realise. And that's the knock-on, isn't it? It's that knock-on effect of positivity. And
do you think normalising that for people at work is beneficial? So them having health and well-being as part of their work life?
Big time, because even just from a output perspective, if you've got a well-balanced person who's healthy and fit and they're looking after themselves, you end up with more from the person contributing to the business. So it all makes perfect sense. It's not, working with Ben or referring staff to Ben or having Ben come in and do these health checks. It's not It's not a cost. You are net better off, everybody wins. It's a positive for everybody all around, so absolutely.
And I think, it's just by doing that first intro, as Alex was saying, Alex refers people, he's got 100 staff, which is, a lot bigger than we've got. But just introducing the fact that this is available is massive, because as I said, people don't want to always share with their employer. They don't always want to share with anybody, but actually having a complete third party is really, really beneficial. It's the equivalent of being able to go to your doctor, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It's that sort of level of support. And it's probably slightly different to the doctor because you're not actually, when you go to the doctor in a small area like we are, you generally know the doctor, and even that's not comfortable. So having someone on the end of a phone, someone completely independent, I think is massive. And like Alex said, you can't really quantify the productivity, but if you just apply logic, if people are feeling better and if everything about their personal circumstance is lighter, it's going to be beneficial.
It's sustainable.
Yeah,
isn't it? That's the thing. You can have high performance unsustainable, which is great for the short term, isn't it? I think we've spoke about it before. It's like I would honestly question any single garage business. Why would you not have simple referral access to Ben? Why would you not promote it? Just put a poster up on your walls. It's like it's a free service that can literally change the life of a technician. And to your point about you don't want to go to a doctor's, these guys know automotive. These will be really common conversations that's probably happening all of the time. People are going through the same struggles.
Yeah.
So if you're a garage owner, offer it to your staff. There's literally no reason not to, is there?
We find a lot as well that people will call us and they'll already have gone to their GP, they'll already have tried all other avenues, and the message we get a lot from that is, I wish I'd come here first, because we can manage all those referrals as well, so we can hold that person and then support them into all those avenues, which is slightly better than doing it the other way, because they've already exhausted all of those avenues first.
And that's also, because that's something that I learned from the visit of Ben, is that these levels of referrals, we're not just talking about well-being and mental health here, we're talking about financial issues, we're talking about support with lots of different areas. And even I would say that reasonably I know what Ben do, but there's stuff there I was like, really, you do that? And I think that's as garage owners and people that are in a position where we do talk to lots of people, we share, we've got to share that knowledge so people understand, did you know that? And I think that helps with your outreach and that helps with getting in front of people. But a lot of the people here will know about them, won't they? The real challenge is, as with lots of other things, we were in a meeting yesterday which said the same. It's how do you get out to the people that aren't at these events, because they're not going to be any different, are they? They're going to have the same challenges.
Do you have more of a challenge with the independent sector?
We do, but it's vast. That's the issue with the independents, and we are slightly different to other places where you can't go to somewhere. Construction, you'll have a construction site with numerous trades and businesses in one place. You guys are in a location,
so it's expensive to reach.
It's expensive. Yeah. You're not, as an industry, great on communication in terms of email. You are on the tools, so how do we get in? We have to physically go. So it's a cost exercise, but like you said, the value we've seen since we've been driving around and since we've had the bus, hearing people's stories about we've come to site and then that has made them call, or they've then learned about Ben, or they've done something for Ben, or fundraising for Ben. That's enough for us. We will keep doing as much as we can, but there is 8,000 of you, roughly. That's a lot. So
what, obviously, not about specifics, but what are the calls that you get? I mean, obviously you get mental health related calls, you get financial related. Is there any other area of stuff that you provide that wouldn't be commonly known? Because like I said, I consider myself to know a reasonable amount, but it's just getting that message out that actually it's much more than just this little bit that we do.
I think the difference with us that's really hard to communicate is that if you were calling a cause-based charity, if you were calling a cancer charity or a mental health charity, you know exactly why you're calling. You're calling for that issue. Yeah. Whereas with us, we would assess the person and the whole person, and that could be anything. So there is no real limit to what we will and won't support with, as long as it benefits the person and is sustainable. So We will assess that whole person. There's very, very rarely a time when someone has a mental health issue that doesn't have contributing factors in other parts of their life. It just, there's no kind of standalone mental health. There will always be something else going on.
So at that call, you triage that, don't you? You triage that thing. I mean, that is mega, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that is just, you know,
Sometimes someone will call us, they'll think they're calling us for one thing, we'll say, hang on, we're going to look at everything. And that's all with their consent. We'd never go into they tell us what they want to or not, but we will assess their whole situation. And so if we can support with 10 unrelated things, but we can't support with one, we'll take the pressure off of those 10 things so you can focus on supporting yourself with one. So we'll assess the whole thing. How have you ended up interviewing me?
Sorry.
What?
I
Told you we were going to flick around.
You flip this totally.
Yeah. Got any more questions for
Ellen? You guys have done
I've got
podcasts
loads more
before.
questions, but I feel like she's buckling under the pressure of the questions. Keep going.
Can you highlight in your businesses, I think you've already done it a bit, Alex, where you've said you've heard today that people have called, but can you highlight a key point where you've seen the value of having Ben as a partner in your business? So not just you put a poster up or you've done some fundraising or a one-off, you've seen the consistency of having Ben as part of your business, you've seen the impact of that.
For us, it folds into the whole picture of what Lindleys are. You know, we try and do all the right things by the local community, and we try and place ourselves as a good modern business to come and work for. And if you want to attract really good staff, you have to be able to demonstrate that you care about your staff and you are there to look after your staff. So for us, again, just purely from a business perspective, it just forms part of our recruitment package, essentially, is that, you know, we work with you guys, we fundraise for you guys, we recommend that our staff call you if they have any issues. We have a weekly newsletter, a quarterly newsletter that goes out, which advertises you guys to all the staff internally. And then we do a weekly roundup, which is like a summary, which goes to every single member of staff. And you guys are on that every single week to every single member of staff. So it's about culture, isn't it? It's about perception, culture. How does that make you look to your employee? And I think that's super, super important when it comes to, again, what do your staff actually think about you? And this isn't a tick box exercise, right? If you've never suffered from mental health, then lucky you, really. If you've ever been in a place where you are one of the few, right? And you can speak to everyone who's been in a dark place to some degree, but some people haven't, right? Some people are bulletproof, but don't underestimate what it means to those people who are, and quite frequently can just dip back into that dark place, knowing that as a employer, you do actually care about it, you do sympathize with the situation, you do have some sort of solution, which is you guys, which we've referred to. So it's a very long answer to your question, but it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And you know, just following what Alex said, you know, we would approach it similarly, obviously not the same scale, but you've got different scales of requirement as well, haven't you? So it's like, I would consider myself to be quite mentally strong, but that doesn't mean that you don't have days when you're not. And I might not need to dip into that. However, it's there, isn't it? And you know, and that because it's all very personal, that level of requirement is different for everybody. So what I might consider just normal, other people might not, and that's it. But I mean, to answer your question specifically about what impact it's had on our business, I mean, we've got a person, and I know he won't mind me telling you because I've asked him. You know, so when we did our health checks at Oldfields, one of our member staff was not mentally, you know, challenged in terms of that, but he did feel a little bit down in himself, and it was around weight. And what Mark did when he came, because of the way that he delivers the information, again, no stigma, factual, just so really well presented with the information and considerate to it. So he basically told you you need to sort it out, but in a really, really nice way that was, you know, based around the truth, without, you know, there's no fluff, no flowering it up, you know, to the point. But what he did was highlighted some of these challenges and concerns that Dan had. And I didn't realise, so Dan's gone on a mission of losing masses of weight. He was here yesterday, and he's lost, last time he told me, it's about 4 stone. And he has taken that, we were chatting on the way to event, and I know I told you this already, but we were chatting on the way to an event, and he mentioned that fact that, so it was, when we saw Ben, and I was like, oh, right, so that's when it started. And it just didn't, in my mind, it was back in February, not in my mind did I associate the two
things together.
But that was actually the kickstart. He's lost 4 stone, and you can see that his demeanour is different. He feels more comfortable. I could never get him to do things on camera, never get any photos of him, and I didn't realise that all sat in the back of his mind relating to how he felt and how he looked. And that it is a proper transformation. It's not, there's no exaggeration here. This is like, it's like chalk and cheese. He's gone from one person to another, same person, but absolutely feels different. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about how you feel, not what you actually look and are. It's how it makes you feel.
And that's key for us, the preemptive kind of support. We will always pick people up in crisis. We'll always be the safety net. We'll always be there. But what we want people to do is acknowledge their health and well-being before they get to the crisis point, and find better strategies for dealing with that before they need us in crisis. So we're there if they need us in crisis, but we'd rather you start focusing on your health and well-being and improving now.
So interlinked, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is, and I know one of the services that you provide, which is the life coaching thing, it's not something that you would necessarily think, oh, well, that's that's something I need. But actually, people that do take that sort of action, they're self-aware. They know that, I think we could all do with coaches of some description. It doesn't matter whether you're a super performer or not. It's that ability to actually unload onto somebody and them to give you some strategies to enable you to do things. It's massive, and I know that's available. Is it 6 weeks or something like that, or 6 sessions, however many, something like that you do, and it's that's an available service, which again I don't think is known in the market. And I mean, how much difference would that make to you? Being able to actually talk through some things, small or big, what you can do about it.
As a business owner, is that a challenge that you are kind of on your own making those decisions? And is that something that's useful for a business owner in terms of life coaching, that you could use that service?
I would say yes, definitely. I'm in a different position because I've got a lot of really great people around me. And I don't just mean in the team internally, I mean other garage owners. So I've always been in a position where I would pick the phone up to someone and have a chat with them if I'm struggling with something, and I feel very fortunate that I can do that. But I appreciate there's probably people not in a position who literally don't know another garage owner who, if that option is there, and I didn't know that was even a thing. I think yes, absolutely, it would be very beneficial.
Yeah, and again, I think that just what Alex was saying there, it's that we're pretty good friends, and we're surrounded by these massive resources that are available to us. And I know that I've probably got 50, 100 garages maybe that if I wanted to pick up the phone to a garage owner, I could do it, and they take my call and we would chat about something, and it's there. However, that isn't normal always. And it's the people, I speak to garages and they're really struggling to deal because they feel alone. And it's, getting to events like this, getting to networking things, it isn't always comfortable. But if you start it just gets you over that line to get you in conversation with people. And, there's so many people that are so willing to give loads of advice, support, help. But again, it's getting in a position where you're comfortable with making that first step to get it. I mean, life coach. If I was, a garage owner who was working on my own, maybe 2 people, we know the pattern because we see it all day. You take on overhead, you take the gamble, you start your business, you keep going, you work, you don't charge enough money, therefore you need to work harder, then you have to work longer, then you don't see your family, and all of these things have a huge knock-on effect, and that could be solved by talking to the right sort of person that would give you that coach and say, right, hang on a minute, let's stop where we are, let's look at it and build that. And it's just, I see it, and you see it.
I see it. I had a phone call last week. It started with a WhatsApp message, you got time for a chat. And I love that, right? Top bloke. And he rang me up and he had some business issues, but actually you scratch away the business issues, he was just a bit beat up, a bit down on himself, a bit struggling, and all it was just a. And I was talking to about it yesterday. Actually, I'm not going to mention the name, but he won't mind me speaking about it. And it was just a bit of a reframing moment. Like, look,
Yeah.
you've got a young kid. You're that typical overworked business owner who's stretched all over the place, as you mentioned. Overheads going up. He's still really ambitious. He's got a young kid at home. He's like really in that sort of really troublesome period of life. I've been there myself completely, and still have moments where I dip back into it. But it was just a reframing of his situation. And I said to her, I was like, that's the first. I've known you for several years now. That's the first time I've actually heard you a bit beat up. From the outside in, looking in, really successful. Like, got it all. Do you know what I mean? And then actually, when he actually just opened up a bit, he was struggling. But he's in a position where he's got people to ring. And he's there. He's the first one to help anybody as well, by the way, at the same time. I could ring him at any time of the day and he's there to pick the phone up for me. But the people who, like you said,
the key thing seems to be the community, doesn't it? Like, if you're surrounding yourself, just offloading and just having that initial conversation is sometimes enough. Just that.
It is, and Alex, that word that he's just used there, reframing, that is huge, isn't it? Because it's always, if you're at that point where you're at breaking point, everything feels awful, everything feels unbearable, unsolvable. One conversation could completely reframe how you look at that, and that might be enough to, it won't solve it, but it will be enough to start you on the process of solving it. And that's the thing, isn't it?
Reframe. I do like the word reframe, but I think a better way of phrasing it is like a moment to take stock. You can be a year into change, positive change, and you've never actually sat back and said, how far have I come, where have I got to, like done that take stock moment. And that's when the reframing then kicks in. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, okay, let me give myself a little bit of credit to where I am. And that can often just, like you said, lift the fog a little bit. It's like, okay, right, it's not meant to be easy, right? Running a garage isn't meant to be easy. It's not easy. It never will be easy, but there are lots of great people out there who are willing to just give the time just because they're nice people, doubled up with what you guys are there to offer. It's just brilliant.
How much does the rapid change in the industry currently affect you guys as business owners, like your mental health ultimately, that constant level of change and the speed of change? How hard is that to manage within a business?
I don't think it's made it any harder. I just think running a business is hard. It's just as simple as that. Running a garage is actually, I think, a really grossly undervalued. The technicalities of running a garage, you've got your inventory, you've got your people, you've got your products, you've got your customers, you've got vehicles that are completely unpredictable. So a bad day can just punch you in the face out of nowhere. You mix all of that up together. I'm not saying there's anything not easy about being a barber, right? But the variables in cutting hair can't be compared to fixing a car.
Easier to control.
Yeah, and it's like what's at stake is much higher when you're working on these objects that drive at 70 mile an hour, and it's like, so it's just hard. I think the rate of change is another factor, but to be honest with you, I just think running a business is really, really, really difficult. And again, with our industry, what you tend to find is that you'll have a really good technical person who has ambition but has no guidance. Yeah. So they very quickly end up in a position of all of a sudden I've got people around me that I am responsible for these people, and they've never been taught how to do that. And if they've not worked under a really strong manager, they are literally winging it. Yeah. And some of them do great. Some of them just the heads are just ready to pop.
I think how many events we are at, how many times have we had these conversations about you can be a brilliant mechanic, you can be brilliant tech, but where do you learn the business skills to run a business? Where do you learn the management skills to manage people? Managing people is hard.
Yeah.
And again, if for me, when I think back to our worst moments in business, if I take some of the personal stuff out of it, it's always down to finance. And I've said in a previous podcast before, like money problems exaggerate every other problem. It's like a compounding effect. So if you one of the first things you'll run into if you're trying to expand your business is you'll run into cash flow problems, and where you've historically just relied on bank balance and your gut instinct, all of a sudden, hang on a minute, I can't pay the VAT. So then when that staff member's calls in sick, it's compounded.
Yeah.
When that customer complains, it's compounded. So you can very quickly feel completely overwhelmed and stressed out when actually all it took was a bit of business planning. You might not have a problem if you'd have just put it down and actually made a plan. Back to your point, it is, where do they get that business knowledge from? And it does cause the stress. I think that lack of business knowledge can really cause the stress.
And I think actually, again, when we're talking of, when you're talking of garages that are, Alex's size, even our size of business, you do plan and you do make provision. We are running them as businesses. But one thing that I would also say is that you've got the people that are these great technicians that have built their businesses without any support, without any training, they also generally don't separate personal and business, and that that comes back to life coach, and that comes back to financial support. And it's like, what happens if you've got somebody who's within your business who's really struggling financially? Yes, in some cases you can provide some support as a business owner, and I think most people would where they can, but it isn't always possible. And you do have to let people manage their own situations a little bit, but where you've got situations like that, you can also reach out to Ben, can't you? And that's the sort of thing. Like, we had a conversation when they were down, the team were down at Oldfields, about how they provided. It was a case with I assume it was a business owner, but it doesn't really make any difference. So a business owner, mortgage, can't wash clothes, and Ben supported and bought him a washing machine. And it's like, where's that? How is that like? That's not known, is it?
Don't start advertising that, because we let loads of washing machines go.
We'll have laundrettes all over there.
Yeah. Those are spin-off businesses. All these garage forecourts with tumble dryers and washing machines.
Laundry mats, just turning up.
But what I mean is that it's that level of support, and when people are on their own or they feel like they're on their own, if they reach out, they're not, are they? They're not on their own, because you guys can support.
I think I see that a lot. So we're always out and about, and people see us all the time, and I always get asked, like, can you help me with this? And it's a really hard question to ask, because I don't know at this moment your whole situation. And actually, we have a skilled team of people that will look at that with you, and I can't answer that. Will we support you with the washing machine? I don't know. Will that washing machine solve more than just, if I buy you a washing machine, can you buy another one when that one breaks? It's about the long term for us. It's that kind of fishing rod fish analogy.
Like you said, it's a whole assessment, isn't it? A wide view, almost a project.
So they're doing. So when we get a Diane car in, that's got your engine management lights on and this light on, and that's happening. We go down the route of we've got this assessment going on, and so we're now looking at, and it's like as business owners, we don't ever if you're doing it right, you shouldn't ever look at the isolated issue. You always look at what's happening with the whole car. We try and charge for it, obviously, but you guys, that's a service that you provide. It's just huge. It's just massive that's available.
And what does that offer you reassurance? Does knowing that we are there as a solution when people come to you, because they are coming to you, that's a huge pressure for a business owner or a leader within the industry, that you aren't skilled in health and well-being. You guys are automotive. Is it reassuring to have Ben, that you know that there's a solution that you can refer people to?
I think I think it is an extension of our business, isn't it? It's an extension of our. I don't mean that we can provide it as a part of a benefits package. However, it is a huge benefit, isn't it, that we've got our own charity within the industry that we're partnered with, and we can provide these services. It's independent, so they don't have to relay it. They don't have to rely on us. And it's provided free at the point of contact. It is massive, and that's, Alex mentioned it earlier about the fundraising thing, and this is why I'm really keen to make sure that I do as much as I can, and without being, we are sort of people that are known within the industry for various reasons, and we can use that to just tweak a little bit of leverage to make sure that people know. And the thing is, Alex said, it's expensive, isn't it? Reaching out and going out to people is expensive. Running these vehicles, running these teams is expensive, and that's why, as an industry, we've all got to dip in and provide a little bit, because it might seem small to us, but it's huge to you, isn't it?
Huge.
And to flip the perspective on its head, if Ben didn't exist, what would you do? In our perspective, in yours, like you have to provide the solution now. It just so happens that in our industry we have a brilliant solution that's actually free. It boggles me that people don't actually do this. It's crazy. So for us, it ticks a box. It's a really important box that needs ticking. We will listen to staff, but we are so quickly out of our depth when it comes to this. You know your own struggles, but it's completely unique, isn't it? What they're going through is completely different to what you're going through, and trying to sort of put your experiences on somebody else and try and help them at the site, just leave it to the experts, just move it on. And then when it comes to, we actually work with another charity in Nottingham. It's like a local charity that looks after kids, right? And amazing charity. And we was at this charity event, and the speaker there essentially said, a room full of successful businesses, right? And they said, you literally owe it back to your local community. Like, you have all built successful, like, businesses. That's pretty loud. You looked after all your families. You have lived off this community. It's your duty to give back to this community, right? I can't say it with any more conviction that everybody who serves the automotive industry, who is a supplier into the automotive industry, or a garage owner, you literally owe it back to the people in the industry, because without those technicians on the ground, without the service advisors, without the managers, without the independent business owners, there isn't an industry to sell to.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be shows like this, would there?
There won't be shows like this, absolutely. So it literally is, I think, do your local charity work, but this is such a good charity with great people, where there's just so much evidence of it's actually really genuinely working. And if you've got a business with a decent amount of staff and you've not internally seen that yet, then you're probably not doing a good enough job of telling your staff that this exists. So it's your duty, you owe it.
Good. And that's a big part of our messaging, specifically this year and the next 5 years as we move on, is we can't do this on our own. Like, this has to be industry-led, and the industry has to support Ben to support the industry. We can't tell everybody. It's impossible. If you don't tell your supply chain, you don't tell your customers about us if you're B2B, we just can't do that. We have to partner with you guys to do it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this now. Alex is gonna like this. We really, as an industry, need to step up, and that's his local charity, I think, isn't it? Step up.
Yes.
Yes. There we are. Look.
Well done. Wrapped that in nicely, didn't you?
I got
that right.
Yeah. I've been holding that for 10 minutes now. Yeah.
What would be, last question, what would be your advice to somebody to start bringing Ben into their business?
Well, it's so simple. It's so easy to do, isn't it? You know, you make a phone call, turn up at an event. You're always there in some form. Just make that contact. You know, it's everyone's really approachable. It's dead easy to do. There's no commitment. Yeah. All you have to do is find out what's available and take that phone number and stick it. You've got toilet stickers, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got toilet stickers.
Toilet stickers. Stick it on the back of your door. That's enough to start you off.
Alex?
I would take it back to basics. If I was in the position where I was running an independent garage, single site, few staff, I would gather the team together. I would open up and I would explain precisely what this is and that it's available. It's completely confidential. I would try and show the sort of the human side to staff that you do actually understand. Yeah. Because the odds are someone's going through something, whether they are or they're not. Just open up and just say what this is about. This is a service that you can call, that you know people that have been on this very successfully, come out the other side of it, and it's always there. I would do all of the, I mean, we do the poster stuff, we do the email stuff, we do all of that stuff, and I think that
one phone call though, and Ben could do a lot of that alongside you.
Yeah,
that's it.
We've got it.
Phone
You just
call.
need to ask. Yeah. We can send it all out. You can go on the website and book a visit from us if you really want. We have Andy Crook on talking about his health check and how it changed his life. We're asking all of our guests to ask the next guest a question. What do you want to ask Andy Crook?
Did you read these notes?
No, I didn't read the notes. we would ask Andy, what would you say to
you reading
someone?
from notes?
Yes.
I literally are. You're
Right,
on
hang on,
camera.
you'll have to cut that bit as well now. Andy, what would you say to someone who's putting off checking? Oh, sorry, putting off getting checked because they think they're fine. Right, do you want,
Andy Crook.
do Alex? Do a take on that, Alex.
Huh?
Do a take on that, Alex.
It was all going so well.
No, it doesn't matter. They're going to film him from there up.
So I would ask him what he would say to someone who is putting off getting their Ben health check.
Cool. We will ask him and get his response.
So inauthentic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
That's
and
cool.
thank you for all your support.
Thanks, Alan.
Cool.